When we hear about the fall of Rome, the images are dramatic. Barbarian hordes storming the gates, flames rising above the city, emperors stabbed in shadowy corridors. But the truth is far more complex. Rome didn't collapse overnight. It wasn't one battle, one invasion, or one emperor's mistake. Rome rotted from within, slowly over centuries, until the final collapse was just the last domino in a much longer chain. The Roman Empire, at its height, stretched from Britain to Egypt, from Spain to Mesopotamia. Its armies were unmatched, its roads unbroken, and its culture influential for millennia. How could something so vast, so seemingly permanent, disintegrate? The real reason Rome fell wasn't just barbarian invasions. It was economic decay, political corruption, military overreach, and the crushing weight of debt and inflation. Rome built an empire on conquest and wealth, but that same system became its undoing. And here's why it matters today. Every great empire thinks it's different. Every superpower believes it will last forever. But Rome shows us that no empire is immune to decline when its foundation is built on unsustainable economics. The lifeblood of Rome was conquest. Conquer new territories, seize their gold, enslave their people, and tax their land. This worked brilliantly at first. The empire grew wealthy. Roads connected cities, aqueducts brought water, and monuments towered over the skyline. But conquest has limits. Once Rome reached its maximum expansion, the inflow of wealth slowed. Yet the empire's expenses, the legions, the bureaucracy, the endless construction, only grew. Rome turned to debt and debasement. Emperors reduced the silver content of coins, hoping no one would notice. Inflation skyrocketed. Soldiers demanded higher pay. Farmers struggled under taxes. Trade declined as currency lost its trust. By the 3rd century, Rome faced what historians call the crisis of the 3rd century: economic collapse, hyperinflation, and civil wars all at once. Coins became nearly worthless. People reverted to barter. The empire's economic foundation was cracking. Sound familiar? A superpower debasing its currency to fund endless spending? Rome's story isn't ancient history. It's a warning. Rome wasn't only undone by money. It was undone by power. The Republic had once prided itself on checks and balances, with senators debating the direction of the state. But as emperors rose, politics turned into corruption, nepotism, and endless intrigue. Senators sold influence. Generals bought loyalty. Emperors lavished the people with bread and circuses while avoiding deeper problems. Rome's leaders stopped governing for the empire's survival. They governed for their own short-term power. Civil wars erupted as generals marched their armies on Rome itself. Loyalty to the empire was replaced by loyalty to individuals. The state became fragile, constantly torn apart from within. When outside threats came, Rome wasn't united. It was distracted by its own corruption. The empire's decay wasn't at the edges. It was at the very core. Rome's military was its pride. But that pride became a burden. At its height, the empire maintained legions on 3 continents. Borders stretched thousands of miles. Walls in Britain, forts along the Rhine, deserts patrolled in North Africa, and frontiers in the Middle East. Protecting it all drained treasure and manpower. To recruit, Rome increasingly relied on mercenaries and foreign soldiers, men who fought for pay, not loyalty. When the gold dried up, so did their allegiance. As resources thinned, Rome abandoned frontier towns. Entire provinces were left to fend for themselves. The empire no longer looked like a protector. It looked like a fading shadow. When the Goths, Vandals, and Huns came, Rome wasn't ready. It had spent centuries expanding outward, but had forgotten how to defend inward. The traditional story is that barbarians toppled Rome. And yes, invasions played a role. But these weren't sudden apocalyptic hordes. They were the result of centuries of Rome's own weakness. The Goths entered Rome's borders as refugees, fleeing the Huns. Rome mistreated them, sparking rebellion. The Vandals sailed across the Mediterranean, seizing Carthage, Rome's old breadbasket. The Huns swept across Europe, terrifying populations and destabilizing alliances. By 410 AD, the unthinkable happened. Alaric and the Visigoths sacked Rome. The Eternal City was violated. Yet even then, the empire staggered on for decades, hollowed but not fully dead. The real story isn't that barbarians destroyed Rome. It's that Rome destroyed itself, and the barbarians simply finished the job. The Western Roman Empire limped into the 5th century, but the end was near. Provinces were gone. Wealth was gone. Loyalty was gone. In 476 AD, the last Roman emperor of the West, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed by the barbarian general Odoacer. No battle, no fireworks, just the quiet end of an empire that once ruled the known world. The Eastern Empire, Byzantium, carried on for another 1,000 years. But the Western Roman Empire, the Rome of Caesar and Augustus, was finished, and yet it didn't fall with glory. It fell with a whisper. The empire had already died in spirit long before it died on parchment. Rome's fall isn't just history, it's prophecy. The same forces that destroyed Rome, economic decay, political corruption, debt, inflation, overextension, and endless wars, echo in today's world. Superpowers believe they are invincible, but history whispers otherwise. When nations spend more than they produce, when politics becomes theater instead of leadership, when borders stretch too wide, and when citizens demand bread and circuses instead of accountability, collapse is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Rome teaches us that no empire falls overnight. It unravels slowly, invisibly, until one day the world realizes it's gone. The real reason Rome fell isn't just about antiquity. It's about us. Will we learn from it or repeat it? If this gave you a new perspective, click subscribe. History has the answers, and I'll show you where to look.